The basic idea of the arrow tuning tool is to replicate the forces an arrow undergoes when being fired out of a bow. We use it to see the way an arrow will flex depending on the strong sides of the carbon, and it's our initial step in the arrow building process. So we're going to start off with some arrows that come pre-fletched from the factory. Ideally, these arrows would flex up along with this index vein so that there's less contact with the rest as they're fired. We're going to go ahead and change adapters on the plunger here and see what this arrow does. We would want it to bend up like this. This one is bending down and to the right. So this arrow would have much more contact with the rest as it's fired. I'm going to rotate it around, and it's still the same side that tends to flex. Ideally, we want it coming out of the bow like this, to go over your rest and eliminate contact after the shot. Go ahead and test a different one. This arrow doesn't flex along this index vein. It goes down and to the left, which would create different contact than the arrow previous. Again, we would want this arrow flexing this way over the rest to eliminate lots of contact. Alright, next we're going to walk you through how we would build arrows from scratch. We have our shafts cut, squared, and deburred. We're going to go ahead and put tips in both ends of the shaft and put our nock side towards the plunger here. This arrow initially wants to bend down to the right. We're going to rotate it until it flexes straight up as we would want it to come out of a bow. Then going to mark the shaft and this arrow will bend towards that mark. We will later fletch our index veins accordingly. That method, the one using tips on both ends, is great for unibushings, push-in nocks, arrows of any size. If you choose to use pin nocks, you can go ahead, glue in your tips, build your arrow completely, minus the fletching process, and test it from there. This one has been tested prior. You can rotate, gonna bend or flex with the mark that's already there, and we'll fletch that accordingly. Alright folks, I got my set of arrows here. I have built them, I've tested them, I've marked them and fletched them accordingly. My next step is to go out and shoot the bell at vertical and horizontal lines and check for outliers. Looking for arrows that are consistently different from the rest of the group. Set them aside and I'll first verify that they're different from the group, but then I will group tune and nock tune accordingly until they all shoot the same.